Hey everyone, it's Kelly. Thanks for joining me. I am back today with a 12 by 12 scrapbook process video for the Altenew July 2019 stencil blog hop. And I'm going to start out my video today by showing you the different stencils that are available in this new release. So I'm just going to flip through these stencils. I will show you the name at the top of each of the packages. This color block heart stencil will build hearts on your background, and you can use multiple color inks to create different colored hearts, which is great. This is a nice geometric print. There's also a nice wreath, which would be great for the upcoming Christmas season. And then this stencil is really awesome. It has a mask that you can use to cover the center of the doily, so you really can maximize different designs with that stencil. This is a diamond builder stencil, and again, this is one of those that you can layer multiple colors, and I'm just showing you the back here as to what you can do with that as far as colors and how you can build different patterns. This is another really fun stencil. It's a galaxy stencil, and again, you can layer that to create really dimensional effects. This is a beach towel stencil. It creates really fun stripes on your background. I love that sample that they have on the back of the packaging. And this is the bubble wrap stencil, which is the stencil that I'm going to be using today on my layout. So I went ahead and cut a heart on this 12 by 12 piece of white cardstock, and I positioned the bubble wrap stencil in the top left hand corner of the cardstock, and as you can see, the cardstock is still attached to my cutting mat. And I'm going to create a background on this cardstock, and I'm using two different color pink mists from my stash. And I'm not really worried about getting full coverage. I want some of those circles to be completely filled. I want some to look a little faded. I want some to be a little bit darker. That's why I'm using a couple different colors of mists. And I'm not really worried about getting the stencil perfectly lined up. I'm okay that you can see the lines on the background where the stencil was on that paper. Completely fine with that. And I didn't want to waste that ink, so I grabbed my art journal and I just flipped the stencil over, and I'm using it almost like a stamp on this art journal page. And that just lets me use up the ink, and it also starts to create a background on my art journal. So I went ahead and removed the paper from my cutting mat, and I've added another piece of white cardstock underneath that misted paper that I used the stencil with. And I took a little time off camera to cut some of these hibiscus flowers. This is from a die set from Altenew. It's one of their 3D flower dies. And I started out with the color scheme of just using pinks, oranges, and purples. And I will add some blue flowers a little bit later on in the video, just because I do have a lot of blue going on in my photo. And I took a little bit more time off camera, added some hand stitching around that heart just for some added texture and detail. And here's where I'm showing you that I did create some of those blue flowers. These flowers were so addicting to make. I had so much fun. I took my die cutting machine out into the living room and just grabbed a bunch of different colors of cardstock and just started cutting and assembling these flowers, and it actually became pretty addictive. It was so much fun. I thought that I had made way too many of them, but I do use almost all of them on this layout. So the leaves that you saw me adding, that is from the same die set, and I cut those in just different colors of green cardstock, and I added them to the layout first to use almost as, I guess you could say, like a drape in the background, and then I added the flowers on top, and there's so much texture, and I just absolutely love it. And I really like how this looks here, just with the flowers by themselves without that white cardstock that I had misted on top of it. I really think it was really pretty just having those flowers in a heart shape. So I may have to do something like that later on for another layout, because I just thought it was so pretty. So in that hibiscus die set, you do also get some small flowers, and I cut some of those just to use as little fillers, just to fill in some of the gaps that I had on this background, because I did want it to be pretty covered. So it's about this time that I'm trying to decide if I want to do a layout with just one photo or if I want to do a layout with two photos. So I went through some of my travel photos and came across these pictures of me and my husband when we went on a cruise. I believe it was in 2012. And it was taken in Nassau, and I just really liked the color. I thought that it went really well with the hibiscus flowers and the bright colors that I had. Hibiscus flowers always remind me of tropical weather, so it just worked out perfect to use these pictures. Now I am adding some tissue paper behind the photos just to give a little bit of separation with the photos and just a little bit more texture to the layout. Now I'm trying to decide how I want to do the title. I grabbed these black alphas from an Altenew scrapbook collection, and I thought that I would just tuck the title in the heart right along the edge, but I didn't really like how that looked, so I thought about moving it more towards the center of the heart and then more towards the top of the heart, and I just really wasn't loving how it was looking. I just felt like it blended in almost too much, and then the black I thought was too much of a contrast. It was just not working for me. So then I remembered that I had these wood veneer words, but I didn't want to use them as the wood veneer. I wanted to alter them a little bit. So I grabbed some white acrylic paint, and I'm going to add a few coats of paint to the word just to get some good coverage. And I originally thought that I would use just this word as my title and that I would leave it white. But I wanted to add a little bit more detail to the title because I wasn't planning on adding any journaling to this layout. I didn't really have anything to say about these photos except where we were. So I thought that I could include that in the title and kind of kill two birds with one stone. And I found these pink alphas in my stash, so I decided to go ahead and paint the word happy the same pink color. So I'm just mixing a couple different colors of pinks to try to get that same color. Those tiny alphas match the mist that I used with the stencil really well, and they were the perfect size to add just a few more words in the title to accomplish the journaling for this layout. So now I'm just going to work on getting everything adhered down, and I do use liquid adhesive to pretty much adhere everything. There's a lot of dimension going on with this layout with those 3D flowers, and then I did also add some fun foam behind that heart shape, again just to elevate it off the background a little bit more to add a little bit more dimension. And I used liquid adhesive to adhere that wood veneer word down to my photos. And now is where I thought, when I was looking at the layout, I felt like it was a little bit off balanced. It was so heavy on the left with my photos and the title that I felt like it needed something on the right hand side of the layout. So I cut a couple more flowers and a couple more leaves. Actually, I cut a few leaves, and I'm going to just position those on the bottom right hand side of the layout. So now I'm going to hold it a little bit closer to the camera so you can see all of the detail. And I absolutely love that stencil. I love that I was able to create my own background. I think that it adds so much more to the layout using that stencil and using the pink mist than if I would have just used a piece of white cardstock on top of all of those flowers. It just adds so much fun, so much color. Stencils are one of my favorite things. I love all of the possibilities with them, with mists and ink and paint and modeling paste. There's just so many possibilities. So I do hope that you will check out the new Altenew release. It has so many fun possibilities. And I do want to encourage you to head back to my blog. I will post a link in the description box below. Altenew is offering some great prizes for this new release blog hop, so all the details can be found on my blog. I will be back again soon with a new layout and process video. As always, thank you so much for watching.